I always thought of myself as a misfit piece in my own family. Not exactly hated, but always feeling like I was pushed to the sidelines, like an unwelcome guest in my own home. My name is Anna, 34 years old, an auditor in Dallas. My whole life I've worked hard, been responsible. But no matter what I did, I was always just a shadow next to my sister Emily, the perfect daughter in my parents' eyes. On the evening of December 24th, I sat alone in my small apartment, savoring a quiet moment after days of exhausting work. I had prepared myself for a lonely Christmas, but deep down, I still hoped for something different. I had no idea that within a few hours, a simple text message would forever change the way I saw my family. My phone buzzed, a message from my mother. "Dear Anna, the weather is awful this year. The forecast says a big snowstorm is coming tonight, so the whole family decided to cancel Christmas dinner. Everyone will stay home to be safe. Wishing you a Merry Christmas." I stared at the message, a wave of disappointment washing over me. This Christmas, I was supposed to go home to my parents' house, just like every year. I had taken time off early, even prepared gifts for everyone. But, I understood. The winter weather in Boston could be harsh. I sighed, trying to accept that this was just an unfortunate circumstance. To comfort myself, I made a cup of hot cocoa, wrapped up in a thick blanket, and put on my favorite Christmas movie. But the loneliness lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness, picturing my whole family gathered around the dinner table while I sat here, completely alone. Around 3 p.m., while scrolling through my phone to pass the time, a photo appeared on my cousin Natalie's Instagram, and it made my heart stop. "A warm Christmas with family, love you all so much." Below the caption was a picture of my entire extended family. My parents, Emily, my aunts and uncles, my cousins. Everyone sitting around a beautifully lit dinner table in Emily's dining room. A golden roasted turkey sat in the center, surrounded by traditional holiday dishes. Sparkling wine glasses reflecting the warm candlelight. I blinked, searching for any sign that this was an old photo, but it wasn't. The Christmas sweaters, the bows on the presents. Every detail confirmed that this dinner was happening right now, without me. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more posts. There was no snowstorm. The sky outside Emily's window was perfectly clear, sunlight reflecting off the crisp white snow, creating a peaceful winter scene. There was no reason to cancel dinner. Except that they didn't want me there. A sharp pain tore through my chest. In that moment, all the scattered pieces of my past memories came together into a complete picture. A picture in which I didn't belong. How many times had they done this before? How many other gatherings had they told me were cancelled when, in reality, they went on without me? My phone buzzed again. My mother. "Hi, sweetheart. I hope you had a peaceful Christmas Eve. We all miss you so much." For the first time in my life, I didn't feel sad about being forgotten. I felt angry. So angry that I knew, from this moment on, everything was going to change. I sat there gripping my phone tightly, its screen glowing with my mother's message. The fake words burned into me. "We all miss you so much." What a joke. They missed me? But spent the entire evening together without me? The pain slowly morphed into a simmering rage. And then, memories started surfacing. Piece by piece. Fitting together like a puzzle I had been too blind to see. 3 years ago, my father had heart surgery. It was a major procedure and I was the only one who could take time off work to be there for him. I took a 2-week leave, flew to Boston, cleaned the house, cooked meals, took him to follow-up appointments, and handled everything so my mother wouldn't be overwhelmed. I was exhausted, but I did it for my family. And Emily? Emily showed up at the hospital once, snapped a few photos with my dad, and posted them on Facebook with a heartfelt caption. "Stay strong, Dad. Your daughter is always by your side." Then she left. Her reason? "My yoga teaching schedule is packed. I can't take too much time off." And I remember that night, when my mother walked into the living room where I was staying up late, sorting my father's medication. She didn't thank me. Instead, she talked about Emily's post, saying how sweet it was, how much she truly cared about family. I had smiled weakly, thinking maybe she just didn't see everything I was doing, but now I realized it wasn't that she didn't see, she just didn't care. And how many times had this happened before? The day I graduated college, I remember standing on stage, scanning the crowd for my family. They were there, but not for me. As soon as the ceremony ended, my mother pulled me aside, saying we had to hurry. Emily had a dance performance they all needed to attend. I barely had time to take a graduation photo before I spent the evening sitting quietly in an auditorium, watching everyone celebrate my sister. On my 30th birthday, I organized a small dinner at a restaurant, inviting my family. They came, but instead of celebrating me, the dinner turned into a discussion about Emily's upcoming trip to Europe. A trip I didn't even know about until that moment. I had been erased from my own family's life without even realizing it. I swallowed hard. They had never truly considered me an important part of the family. I was just the shadow, the backup plan, the too practical older sister, while Emily was the shining center of everything. I looked at my phone screen again. My mother had messaged me as if nothing had happened. As if me being left out was completely normal. A wave of fury crashed over me. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I wouldn't let this continue. I tightened my grip on my phone, my heart pounding as I stared at my mother's message again. "We all miss you so much." Those fake words rang in my head like a cruel joke. They didn't miss me. They never had. If I hadn't seen that Instagram photo, I would have kept believing their lies. But not this time. I had had enough. Without hesitation, I pressed the call button. The phone rang twice before my mother picked up. "Anna, sweetheart, I was just about to call you back. How was your Christmas?" she said. Her voice light and casual, as if nothing had happened. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Are you sure you want to ask me that?" I said, my tone colder than I expected. A pause. Then a small, forced chuckle. "Why would you say that? Are you okay? Did something happen?" I clenched my jaw, bitterness rising in my throat. They had excluded me from Christmas dinner, blatantly lied to me, and now she was acting like nothing was wrong? "Mom, I saw the photo on Instagram. The Christmas dinner at Emily's house. Everyone was there. Except me." Silence. I could picture my mother's face. Caught in the lie, trying to think of a way to spin it. "Oh, Anna, it's not what you think. Emily planned it last minute, and we didn't want to bother you because you're always so busy." "Busy?" I cut her off, anger surging through me. "You told me dinner was cancelled because of a snowstorm. But the sky was perfectly clear. There was no storm. You lied to me, Mom. You deliberately left me out." "You're overreacting, Anna." My mother sighed, her voice shifting into a tone of reproach. "You're always so sensitive. We just didn't want you to feel obligated. You know, you've never really fit in at family gatherings." A chill ran down my spine. This was how she always justified it. It wasn't their fault. It was mine. "What are you saying?" "I've always tried to fit in. I've been trying my whole life. But no matter what, I was always the one left behind. And I was stupid enough to think that if I did everything right, if I tried hard enough, you and Dad would treat me fairly. But no. I never even had a chance, did I? Anna, don't say such ridiculous things. We love you, it's just..." My mother hesitated for a second before continuing. "Emily has always been more proactive. She makes an effort to keep the family close. And you always bury yourself in work." I let out a bitter laugh. "What work are you talking about, Mom? The work I do to help you and Dad pay off the mortgage? The work I couldn't abandon when Dad had surgery, because if I didn't take care of everything, no one else would? And Emily? She never had to lift a finger, yet she's still the perfect daughter? Is that what you mean?" My mother's voice hardened. "Anna, I think we should end this conversation here. If you're going to keep blaming the family over one Christmas dinner, then maybe you need some time to calm down. Call me back when you can be more reasonable." And then she hung up. I stared at my phone, my mind blank. That was the moment I realized a bitter truth. They had never truly seen me as part of the family. I was just someone they remembered when they needed something: money, help, responsibility. But when it came to the moments that actually mattered, I was nothing. I set my phone down, a strange feeling washing over me. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't going to fool myself into believing that if I just tried harder, I would finally be accepted. No, I was finally seeing things clearly. And this time, I wouldn't stay silent. I sat in front of my laptop, the cursor blinking on a blank screen. I had stayed quiet long enough. If Mom and Emily thought they could erase me from the family without consequences, they were wrong. I took a deep breath and started typing. To the family. I saw the photos on Instagram. The pictures of the Christmas dinner I was told had been canceled because of a snowstorm. A storm that never existed. None of you thought I would notice? None of you thought I would feel betrayed, knowing that you all gathered together and deliberately didn't invite me? This isn't the first time. I have spent my whole life trying to fit into this family, trying to be accepted, but time and time again, I was pushed aside. When Dad had surgery, I took 3 weeks off work to care for him. But Emily? She just stopped by the hospital for a few photos and was praised as the devoted daughter. When I worked to help Mom and Dad pay off the mortgage, I never got a single word of thanks. But when Emily decided to open a yoga studio with the financial support you gave her, it was suddenly a proud achievement. This Christmas was the final straw. Not a single one of you spoke up to say this was wrong. Not a single one of you sent me a message. Not one of you asked why I wasn't there. I simply did not exist in this family's eyes. I've had enough. I won't be the invisible one anymore, and this time, I won't let you twist the story to make me the villain. I know you'll try to justify it, say I'm too sensitive or misunderstanding things. But I don't care about those lies anymore. I just want you all to know that I finally see the truth. I read the email one last time, then hit send. Less than 10 minutes later, the replies started rolling in. The first was from Aunt Sandra. Anna, I think you're overreacting. We didn't intentionally leave you out, it was just a last-minute change of plans. Next time, let's not make a big deal out of it, okay? I let out a dry laugh. A last-minute change of plans? Yet they somehow managed to coordinate matching sweaters, set up a perfect dinner, and not a single one of them thought to invite me? Next came Uncle Mark. Anna, the family has always loved you. But sometimes, you isolate yourself without realizing it. You're always so busy, maybe everyone just assumed you weren't interested in coming. They were trying to shift the blame onto me. They were saying I was the one who distanced myself, not them. Then, Emily's message popped up. You're really making a big deal out of nothing. I just wanted to have a perfect Christmas without any tension. If you had been there, everyone would have had to tiptoe around your feelings. I did this for your sake. And now you're turning it into a problem. Anger flared up in my chest. For my sake? Since when was lying to me, deceiving me, and excluding me for my own good? And then, my mother's message arrived. I could already predict every word before I even opened it. I'm truly disappointed in you, Anna. We just wanted to keep the family atmosphere happy. You always take things so seriously and make everything heavier than it needs to be. Do you have any idea how much I cried when I read your email? You're hurting everyone over a small misunderstanding. You need to learn to forgive and move on, or you'll end up alone. I clenched my phone tightly. She was trying to make me the one at fault. No apology, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just guilt-tripping, emotional manipulation, and the veiled threat that if I didn't forgive, I would be abandoned. But this time, I wasn't afraid anymore. I set my phone down, feeling a strange sense of relief. I knew my family would never change. But I could. For the first time in my life, I truly understood that I didn't have to keep fighting for their acceptance anymore. And that was a freeing thought. 2 days after I sent the email, when the flood of accusatory messages had finally started to slow down, I received an unexpected phone call from Lisa. an old friend of my mother's. Anna, I know this might not be something you want to hear right now, but there's something I think you need to know. Her voice sounded tense, like she had debated whether to call me at all. What is it? I asked, a sinking feeling creeping into my chest. It's about your grandfather, and the money you were supposed to receive. I sat up straight, my heart pounding. The money I was supposed to receive? Lisa sighed before continuing. Before your grandfather passed away, he left you a sum of money. I know because I used to help your family with financial paperwork. Your grandfather loved you very much, Anna. He was always worried that your parents wouldn't treat you fairly, so he set up a separate fund, $250,000, just for you when you turned 25. I froze. I had no idea. Lisa paused for a moment, then spoke again, her voice filled with regret. I figured you didn't. Because your parents never told you. When you turned 25, you should have had access to that money, but your father, as the financial guardian, transferred the entire amount into a different account. An account under Emily's name. My throat tightened. Are you sure? I have proof, Anna. I still have copies of the documents. I kept quiet all these years because your father convinced me that it was just a family matter, but after seeing how they treat you, I can't stay silent anymore. The world seemed to spin around me. I had spent my entire youth working, paying off student loans, helping my parents with their finances, while the money that was rightfully mine had been taken from me, without my knowledge. Old memories came flooding back. The nights I stayed up worrying about my student debt, the times I turned down trips with friends because I couldn't afford them, the moments I sent money home whenever my parents said they were struggling. And all this time, my money had been used to fund Emily's lifestyle? No way. Can you send me copies of those documents? I asked, my voice eerily calm, void of emotion. Of course, Anna, I'll send them right now. I hung up, my hands shaking as I opened my email. Minutes later, my inbox pinged with a new message. I clicked on the attachment. And then, the truth hit me like a brutal slap. Everything was there. Financial records from 5 years ago. A transfer order moving my inheritance into an account under Emily's name. My father's signature authorizing the transaction. Undeniable proof. Rage burned inside me. I had lived like a fool all these years, while they had silently stolen what was meant for me. This wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated theft. And this time, I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I shut my laptop, my heart pounding. I needed to do something. I couldn't let my parents and Emily continue believing they could manipulate me and take what was mine without facing consequences. That very night, I printed out every document Lisa had sent, every bank transaction, every legal form bearing my father's signature. I placed them in a thick folder and went online, searching for a lawyer specializing in financial fraud and inheritance disputes. The next morning, I was sitting in the office of David Carter, a seasoned attorney with experience in cases like mine. He skimmed through the files, occasionally nodding, occasionally frowning. Finally, he set the papers down and looked at me over his glasses. Anna, this is a serious case of asset misappropriation. Your parents abused their financial guardianship and carried out unauthorized transactions. If you choose to pursue this, we can file a lawsuit and demand the full amount be returned. I clenched my fists. I want my money back, but I also want to give them a chance to make it right before I take it to court. David nodded. We can send a legal demand letter. It will outline the evidence we have and give them a deadline to return the funds. If they refuse or attempt to destroy evidence, we move forward with legal action. I agreed, and David immediately drafted the letter. We sent it via email, and also through certified mail to my parents. The message was clear. I knew about the stolen inheritance. I had legal proof of their actions. They had 7 days to return the money, or I would take them to court. A few hours after the letter was sent, my phone started blowing up. My father, my mother, Emily, all of them were panicking. The first call came from my mother. Anna, what the hell are you doing? Why would you send something like this? We're family. You don't sue family. I kept my voice steady. If you really considered me family, you wouldn't have stolen my money and given it to Emily. She hesitated but quickly tried to justify it. It's not like you needed the money, Anna, you have a stable job, but Emily, she needed it to build her career. You can't just think of yourself. I let out a cold laugh. You mean the yoga studio she shut down after 6 months? Or the trips to Bali she paid for with my money? She stammered, then quickly snapped. What's done is done. What do you gain from suing us? You're only going to tear this family apart. I took a deep breath. This family was broken the moment you decided to betray me. Now you have 2 choices: return the money, or see me in court. I hung up, refusing to listen to more manipulation. An hour later, Emily texted. You're being ridiculous. Dad and Mom gave me that money. I never forced them to take it from you. I didn't even know it was yours. Now you're going to destroy the family over some cash? I didn't bother responding. The next day my father called. He didn't yell or accuse me like my mother and Emily. He spoke in a low, authoritative tone. The same tone I had grown up hearing. Anna, you can't win this. Don't make a mess of things. If you keep pushing, you'll lose this family. I laughed. Really, Dad? What family? The family that deceived me, stole my money, and didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt? If you truly cared about family, you wouldn't have done this in the first place. My father was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said, You won't get a single cent. Just try and see. Then he hung up. So they had chosen to fight. I opened my email and messaged David. They refused to return the money, proceed with the next step. This time, they wouldn't escape. I stepped out of the courtroom, taking a deep breath. The battle had begun. After my family refused to return the stolen inheritance, David Carter and his legal team swiftly moved forward with the case. The official lawsuit was filed in federal court, accusing my parents of asset misappropriation, financial guardianship abuse, and fraud. Things escalated faster than I expected. 2 weeks after the lawsuit was filed, law enforcement and financial investigators got involved. I received a text from a friend who worked at City Hall. Anna, you won't believe this. Your father's office was just raided by the police this morning. My heart pounded as I opened the local news site. And there it was. A photo of my father, being led out of his office in handcuffs. The main charges: financial guardianship abuse and embezzlement of personal assets. According to the investigation, he hadn't just stolen my money. He had also used his company as a front for money laundering. Several hidden accounts were discovered, including one that transferred funds directly to Emily. Once the authorities got involved, they froze all related assets, including Emily's yoga studio, which had been funded with the stolen inheritance. I didn't need to guess how panicked Emily must have been when she found out her bank accounts were frozen. She called me immediately. What the hell are you doing? Why would you sue our parents? Now they've taken everything from me. Are you happy now? I closed my eyes, keeping my voice calm. It was never your money, Emily. It was mine. And now, it no longer belongs to you. You're a monster, Emily screamed. None of this would have happened if you didn't try to destroy this family. I let out a cold laugh. This family destroyed me first, Emily. Now, you're just facing the consequences. Emily sobbed on the other end before hanging up. She had lost everything. 3 days later, I received another call, this time from a journalist. Miss Anna, this is Laura Martin from the Boston Globe. We're investigating the financial scandal involving your family. Would you be willing to share your side of the story? Sure. I didn't even need to answer. This was already all over the news. But what shocked me the most was a video recorded at a charity gala. In the footage, my mother was being escorted out of the event by the police, right in front of dozens of business people and donors. She was dressed in an expensive gown, her face pale as the handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Reporters swarmed her, flashing cameras in her face as they threw questions at her. Did you know about the embezzled inheritance? What do you have to say about your daughter suing the family? Did you use your daughter's money to fund Emily? My mother struggled, but the officers didn't let her escape. That scene brought back memories of all the times she had looked at me with indifference, all the times she praised Emily while belittling everything I did. Now she was no longer the powerful woman standing on stage, receiving charity awards. She was just a fraud, arrested under the harsh glare of flashing cameras. But the biggest blow wasn't the arrest itself. It was what came after. My father was fired from his company. Emily lost all her assets and reputation. My mother was removed from every charity board she had once proudly belonged to. The family that had worked so hard to maintain a perfect image had completely crumbled in front of the world. I knew they would hate me for this. But I didn't care anymore. Because for the first time in my life, I had broken free from their control. I was no longer the forgotten daughter. I had taken back what was mine. Not just the money, but my freedom. I sat by the window in my small apartment in Seattle, watching the light drizzle against the glass. Everything had changed. Since the day I chose to fight back, my life had been through storms. But now, the storm had passed. My father was serving financial penalties and probation for embezzlement. He had lost his entire reputation in the business world. My mother, after posting an enormous bail, had been shunned by nearly everyone she once called friends. The charity circles that once praised her now saw her as nothing more than a disgrace. Emily, who had once flaunted her luxurious lifestyle, was now working as a front desk receptionist at an ordinary yoga studio. And me? I had no contact with them. No more fake text messages. No more shallow invitations. No more lies. I had completely escaped their control. Moving to Seattle was one of the best decisions I had ever made. I had a new job at a major accounting firm, where my boss and coworkers actually valued me. For the first time in my life, I was being recognized for my abilities without comparison, without being dismissed. I had also made friends who genuinely cared about me, not people who only reached out when they needed something. And I had started doing things for myself again. Painting, something I once loved but had been told was impractical. Traveling, booking flights without worrying about saving money for my parents. I realized I didn't need my family's approval to feel whole. One crisp October afternoon, as I sat in a cafe near my apartment, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Anna, if possible, please call me back. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, then set my phone down without replying. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I simply didn't care. They had their chances to make things right. They had their chances to treat me fairly. And they had chosen otherwise. Now, I owed them nothing. I smiled, took a sip of my coffee, and enjoyed the quiet autumn afternoon. The best revenge isn't ruining others. It's reclaiming your freedom and building a life of your own. And finally, I had done just that. Anna's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes, family isn't always the safest place. Favoritism, deception, and manipulation can exist, even in the closest relationships. But the key isn't fighting for acceptance from those who don't value you. It's learning to set boundaries, protect your rights, and seek out people who truly care for you. Sometimes, the greatest freedom isn't revenge. It's stepping away from toxic control and creating a life you deserve. What do you think of Anna's story? Do you think she did the right thing by confronting her family? Or was there another way to handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to follow for more stories on family, life, and valuable lessons.